So greetings, everyone. Welcome to this Tantra Talks spiritual podcast. I'm very happy to be talking to Jote Prakash Singh today. How are you doing, Jote?
Yeah, I'm well, very well.
Good, good. So obviously, a lot of you know Jote who are watching on Facebook. And for those who aren't familiar with Jote Prakash's work, he is the founder of the Rising Dawn Sanctuary. They were originally based in York, but in the process of moving, or have moved now to Newcastle. And I just thought it'd be a really good opportunity to talk to Jote Prakash now, the beginning of 2022, as he's about to make this big transition to Newcastle. And it just seems that the start of this year, post sort of COVID and lockdown, it's just this amazing opportunity for rebirth. For people individually, but also collectively for the planet and for these communities. So yeah, great to be talking with you, Jote Prakash. And yeah, maybe we can just start by just learning a little bit more about how the sanctuary came into being, and maybe how that relates to your own spiritual awakening process, and obviously the work with your mum, who's obviously a very respected Kundalini yoga teacher as well. So yeah, it'd be lovely to hear a little bit about how the sanctuary was birthed.
Yeah, good to be here, James. Thanks for inviting me. And I have to pay homage to the other founders of the Rising Dawn as well, because I can't fully claim that I created this. I guess I was brought into it actually through my mum and a few other members of our community back 4 or 5 years ago now. And it all started with Wellness Wednesdays, which was like an opportunity for people to come and do a Kundalini yoga class and then share lunch. And that was a community gathering that my mum was running every week. People would come, people would go. And then it led into us basically having our own space. And then we put a yurt on the land. We started doing the community gatherings and then also the men's camps. That was where when I first started getting involved. And it was actually, to go back a little bit, it was really so that we had a place to host the Kundalini yoga teacher trainings. And I had just come out of college. I was 17 years old at the time. Still a little bit freaked by the whole Kundalini yoga spiritual world, a little bit resistant to that, which was obviously my fate calling me strongly. But I resisted as much as I could until I was offered a free place on the Kundalini yoga teacher. And I didn't get into drama school. That was my original plan. Go to drama school, try and become an actor. So it turned out to be a blessing, because then this Kundalini yoga opportunity opened. And at first I remember thinking, I'm way too young to get involved. Like, I'm way too young. I don't want to grow up too fast. And my friends said, oh, don't be weird. Why would you do that? But I just felt such a pull to actually do it. And so I signed up for the teacher training. That was the first thing we did at the sanctuary, was that. And that led to me getting really deeply involved in the actual running of the Rising Dawn, and just feeling completely kind of devoted to this mission of bringing people together, building community. And for me, one of the things that hit so deep in my heart was bringing men together and creating brotherhood. So first thing I did was a men's camp. And it started with just a few mates, like literally college mates, just kind of, oh, you want to come over to the space? We had a yurt, so we went and we slept in the yurt. We had a fire going, played chess. It was a really casual vibe. And then the next day we built a tree house. Every young boy's dream, build a tree house. So we just built a tree house. So amazing. And the men's camps progressed from there, and it slowly got a little bit more kind of professional, if you like, with me then leading circles and doing yoga sessions, and then obviously other people coming in as well, and some people teaching tantra, and other people have offered lots of different things at the men's camps. And largely the men's camps were pivoting around a project that we did at the sanctuary. So we made chairs one time, we did a den at the back of the woods another time, we made stoves, we made a sweat lodge and had a sweat lodge at another time. It was all so much fun. And like with all of my projects, it seems like there's always a moment where everyone sort of stands around and is like, is this really gonna work? And then we've got to sort of figure it out. Universal lines and project always come together at the last minute, just as it seems to have happened now in Newcastle.
Awesome. Yeah. So originally you were based in York or just outside York. Was that your grandparents' land? Was that because it was a farm, right? A farmland. What was the situation with that space? Because you had a lot of land. You had these lovely fields and like a house which wasn't actually people weren't living in it, but it was kind of served the space where people could obviously use the kitchens and things like that. So was that a family property?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it was over on my granddad's land. It was originally my auntie's house, and then my auntie moved on to into a different house also on the land, and that house was made into the sanctuary. That kind of, it just before lockdown fell through. I think it was mainly just because granddad wanting to get a steady source of income, and so he's now going to rent it out as a holiday cottage and things. But there's potential in the future, because for me it's been this journey of not needing any sort of like freebies, not wanting to feel like I am always asking other people to support me and help me, and like getting into that frame of mind where I can't do it on my own. When actually the lesson for me over the last few years has been like accepting that hasn't worked out. Like granddad's not going to provide this magical solution for me, It's like letting go of this thing about authority will just sort of sort it all out for me. It's been like diving deep within myself and of inspiring myself to take the steps and mainly learn the actual infrastructure and the kind of business mindset that we need in order to create these communities. So it turned out to be very useful actually to lose that space and then have to move on and find my feet, somewhere else.
Like be independent and not necessarily working with family, which, can be great, but also has its own challenges, speaking from experience. But you're now essentially independent. You're by yourself and setting up in Newcastle. So again, completely fresh beginning, new beginning, and a new opportunity, which is amazing. Like before we talk about Newcastle, what about your own sort of spiritual awakening? Because it sounds like destiny brought you into the Kundalini tradition, yoga tradition, and you obviously did the training, and then things just aligned where you found yourself working more at the center. But in terms of like your own personal subjective experiences and the journey that you've been on, like how would you, because it seems like you've gone through a big transformation of your character, your identity. What has that process been like? What kind of experiences have you had, and how do you feel that you've gone through this transformation process? Like what's that journey look like for you or been like for you?
Yeah, I'll take you back to the point where it all really exploded for me. I was 16. I was in college, smoking quite a bit of cannabis at the time, and that's obviously very mind altering and opening. So it actually happened it was the first time I smoked in public, and I don't know why, but maybe it was just my time. I came back into college, and as I was walking back into college, I had this huge experience of what I now know to be Kundalini Awakening, like spiritual awakening. But at the time, I was just like taken aback. Colors exploded, classic. Could hear things from way away, just like feeling so much sensation, like electricity coursing through my veins. this sense of oneness with everyone around me, and this deep sense of wanting to be of service to the people around me, looking around and watching my friends and people coming, filing into college like robots. Just like, I remember thinking, wow, why is everybody so grey? And I just had this sense, as probably most of us do when we start a spiritual journey, of like, I could be the one to bring colour into college. So I just had this huge thing of like, oh, I'm going to bring some joy to these people. And what followed was this like rising energy, higher and higher and higher. And I wasn't sleeping, I wasn't eating. It happened for about 2 or 3 weeks, just constantly like a series of events. I didn't smoke anything else, didn't take any more drugs. All my family thought I had taken like hard drugs, and actually it was literally 2 drags of cannabis. That was it. All my family were like, what has happened to you, man? I got tested for like, if there's like anything else in me, but it was pure just consciousness being awakened. And then what led on was my nervous system constantly being pushed and pushed and pushed with the lack of sleep and lack of food. It was like when people want to go into a shamanic trance, they would stop eating, they would stop sleeping. And then that was what's happening to me just naturally, because I would lay down at the end of the day and try to sleep, but feel like I was falling through space or spinning in my bed or just other mad stuff. So I would just sit bolt upright and carry on through the night, just doing some of the wildest, craziest things you could probably imagine. It's all written in my book. And that then kept progressing and progressing and progressing. I would go into college. One of the key things was I had no fear. Like nowadays, I still struggle with fear and things, but I mean, like no fear, just like this brief glimpse of how it is to be completely free of all restraints. I would go into college, I'd take my guitar, play music in the corridors, sing my heart out, didn't even care if I was sounding rubbish. I didn't even care about anything like that. I was talking to everybody, even if I didn't know them. I was just treating everybody as if they were like my best friend. And so people became my friend, or they just thought I was crazy. I had 2 different camps going on. So yeah, that thing of being completely present with everything. Like water was just amazing. I couldn't believe how do we have water coming out of our taps and our showers. I was like, my God, this is incredible. Just in that state of complete gratitude. Food, if I had a bit of food here and there, it's just like, wow. And it's like, just kept getting higher and higher and higher, until after about 2 weeks, what happens is the nervous system, it just can't sustain that, you know? So my nervous system just went to the point where it was just stretched, and then it all started to crash, and paranoia set in quite strong, and started to like really want to go back to normality. But then I realized I couldn't. I was like, I want to go to sleep, but then it was like not like getting excited about being awake. It's more like, now I actually can't sleep because my nervous system's so wired, you know. That led to me then having to come out of college for a while. I went to Scotland. My mum took me to Scotland, and we were going there on a family holiday anyway. And she just was amazing, because like, I think most people would not have known what on earth to do. We went to the hospital when I was starting to get to that place where I was like dazed. I was in this state of like, I was like a zombie. It's really just like my nervous system was, I couldn't really do things for myself. People were feeding me. Mum was putting clothes on me. You know, it was really that severe at that time. And hospital had no idea what to do with me. And they were like, you know, pretty close to putting me in a mental ward, you know, a psych ward. And then that leads to obviously getting drugged up and you know, so the last minute, mum decided that she was going to take me to Scotland, see what she could do on her own with more alternative practices. And it was amazing, you know, and I just really emphasize with people who do struggle in the mental realm. So many of us, like in today's society, having these mental issues and psychosis and things like that, and we have no idea as a society how to treat that. We have not treat it properly, you know, not like just try and treat a symptom, but actually go to the root and really help the nervous system strengthen itself instead of being constantly pumped full of drugs, you know. So what mum did was actually help me return to balance, and a lot of it was just about grounding. So for anyone out there who's having that spiritual experience, maybe you're in the thick of it right now, maybe you're where I was, maybe you're like third eye is exploding into oblivion and you don't know what to do. My whole process has been like grounding and creating a stronger container, because Kundalini energy is like electricity, and Kundalini is the creative potential. It's like that spiritual energy that courses through us. And if our nervous system, which is like a battery, isn't strong enough to hold that electricity, then it short circuits. And that's basically what psychosis is. It's this short circuiting of the brain and the body and the nervous system shutting down because of that. So the grounding, you know, I really recommend to people, if you are on the spiritual journey, spending a lot of time. So when I went to Scotland, spent a lot of time, and I didn't know what I was doing. I was just listening to my mum, and I was just like, she was probably for the first time in my life, you know, that she could actually tell me to do something and I'd do it. But I was so grateful just to have any advice, because I wanted to get out of it, you know. So she would say, let's come on to the beach, and we were on the beaches just like walking barefoot, touching trees, grounding, remembering my body, because I was barely in connection with my body, you know, just so far out of my body. Coming back to the body. She had me on carrot and ginger juice every morning. She had me doing this Kundalini exercise where we were grounding into the earth. I could hear her chanting a lot as well, which was super grounding and like very healing, like having this mantras and vibrations around me all the time. Just getting back to eating normal food again, you know, a lot of like root vegetables and just stew and things like that, just to really ground me. Wearing a turban, you know, like people maybe think this is more of a religious thing, but actually there's a science behind the turban. It's about containing your energy in your higher chakras. It's about pulling all that energy and actually creating a bit of a container. It feels like a warm hug on your head, and it puts pressure into your third eye where your pineal gland is. It's just, you know, with all these things, there's always a science behind it. So yeah, I recommend exploring that.
Awesome. Well, that sounds like quite a journey, like amazing, like initiation into the spiritual dimensions.
Yeah, man.
And was that when you first got into Kundalini yoga then, when your mum took you to Scotland, or had you done a bit of Kundalini before that?
Yeah, I'd done bits and pieces, and I'd been around it. My mum's been practicing for 13 years now, or something like that. And I'd been around it, you know, since I was young, and the vibrations that go in on some level. Like, for all the parents out there that think that you're not affecting your kid with your spiritual practice, because at first, me and my three brothers were like, oh, Mum, this is the weirdest thing ever. You know, oh, you're such a freak. Why have you got a towel on your head? Like, but actually, it was seeping in. Even my three brothers, they're probably more like spiritual than the majority of people, because they're open, they're aware. They were, because my mum's also a psychotherapist, and she was drilling into us when we were younger that we were allowed to be with our emotions. We were allowed to be angry and sad when we felt angry or sad, you know. So we were blessed, and little things like that. And we had organic vegetarian food, you know, that was what we ate. So it was like, that was another thing that just kind of it goes in. And I remember coming down and just sitting with my mum a few times when I was younger, listening to her chanting, even my younger brother Steve, who's he's like into bodybuilding now. He's not so much into the yoga and stuff. Bodybuilding and beats is his thing, you know, making beats. And yeah, even him, like, he knows all the lyrics to the mantras and stuff. So it's like, it's gone in. Yeah.
That's awesome. And you were homeschooled as well, is that right? In the primary school?
That's right. Yeah. And that's another key thing, I guess, is being homeschooled, being out of the system. Just like Mum was doing it on her own most of the time, single mother. She took us out of school. She was also keeping up psychotherapy practice and things, and doing clients whilst we were at home. But I tell you, like, for most people that are scared of doing the home education path, there's always this like thing of, I won't have enough time to properly educate my kids. I will say this, we did pretty much nothing. Like, in terms of generic education, I was homeschooled for 7 years. I ended up going back to school for GCSEs, but yeah, I was pretty much homeschooled from like year 1 to year 9. And we just were like playing on the beach most of the time, or like going as homeschool groups, or seeing friends, learning by being in nature. I've read books, like, I love to read fiction. Darren Shan, you know, Alex Rider, Ranger's Apprentice, just these like amazing books. And I didn't need to like sit down and read a maths book. I was learning just by reading, and just, I think kids are just like sponges. Like, we learn what we want to when we're inspired about something. And this happens for, you know, adults too. If we're inspired about something, like, we learn it. If you're not inspired, it's going to go in one ear, out the other ear. Just what happens in school, probably 98% of the time.
Yeah, definitely. I think especially secondary school, it can really beat that that individuality and that energy and that like lust for life out of you. You have to conform, you have to wear the blazers and the ties, and everyone's lining up. It's like, yeah, I think it's really unhealthy, actually. Like, finding the right school for kids, I think, or homeschooling, I think, is the way forwards. But these sort of state schools, or any mainstream school, and just learning all these subjects which ultimately are of no use, you know, moving forwards, and not learning the important stuff, the emotional management or conflict resolution, or like how to relate to people, and health and well-being and all these things. You know, why aren't we learning this stuff? So I think I'm sure that was a big blessing for you to have that time at home. And like you said, like with your mum practicing Kundalini from a young age, yeah, that absolutely had a massive impact on you, like massively. And I think that's a really positive thing, to obviously to have been brought up in the tradition, albeit you weren't practicing until a little bit later, but I'm sure it was all kind of having an effect and kind of percolating and influencing you on a subtle level. So now 2022. Okay, I know obviously everything's kind of been put on hold the last couple of years, but when we talked last time, you were talking about really these last couple of years have been a period of visioning for yourself and planning and preparing for this move to Newcastle. So why don't you tell us a little bit about this process more recently, and the plan for Newcastle?
Yeah. And you say things have been put on hold, but not particularly for me. I mean, I've just been still going pretty strong the last few years, doing various different things. Like, one thing that's been a bit of a quest in the last few years has been finding the guardians. So guardians of the Rising Dawn Sanctuary, you know, the team of people are going to bring this vision down to earth. And that was such a fun, it was like I was King Arthur, like striding out on this quest. And I went to Ibiza, and just, I wasn't doing it particularly with that in mind, but I was creating lots of deep connections with people all across the country and further afield. Like, just having these really deep connections at festivals or gatherings or workshops or classes, it's wherever I was. And and then after this, like, trust had been built. When I came around to doing the Rising Dawn, I was like, oh my gosh, yeah, I can really like trust this group of people. And then I started inviting and pulling together a team of people. So there's now 14 of us who are the guardians of the Rising Dawn dream. And everyone's just such an amazing group. Everyone's got so many different talents and gifts they're bringing to the table. And, you know, like, because one of the points we made earlier about this independence from the family, it's like there's this usual thing in society where like young man or woman goes off, and the hero's journey, you go off on your own and you have to, you know, figure things out on your own, and that's really important. And that was an element, that was a part of it. But also, I don't want to go too far into this thing of feeling like a lone wolf and feeling like I'm the only one that could do it, and this is like I'm the only one who has the power to do this thing, when in reality it's like that's me actually not having the ability to delegate or to ask for help, you know, because man, I don't want to take on this weight. And so having these like 13 other people there, and it just felt like a breath of fresh air. And when we had our first meeting, it was just like so amazing. We're just all getting on it and giving people tasks to go away with. And I still found that hard, but I'm finding that hard actually, to like let other people do stuff. But yeah, slowly just allowing that to actually, yeah, feel like it's really releasing a burden. Because otherwise we burn out, man, and I don't want that to happen. Yeah. Go on.
I was just saying, it's like a big, from speaking from experience, it's a big responsibility, and there is a lot of work to do when you've got a center, and it is burdensome, and but to have that team around you will massively help. So is the intention for some people? So just tell us a little bit about the space now. So you've purchased land it's just southwest of Newcastle, isn't it? North of Durham, southwest of Newcastle. What's the area? Just tell us a little bit about how you found the space and why Newcastle, and a little bit about the area, and and kind of what you plan for it.
Yeah, again, all the universe's hand, you know, pulling me in the direction that she wanted to take me. It was talking to a friend who was a client at the time, and he just dropped into we were having a call, and he just dropped into the space that his dad had land. And I was like, oh, how interesting. My granddad just said that we can't do it on his land. So would you like to talk more? And he, oh, yeah, I've been looking for someone. He's like, oh, I've never had the time, but this is something I've always wanted to do. And, you know, and I was like, I've got the time and the energy, and I'd love to do it. Yeah, we're just renting it at the moment. It's a beautiful little spot, about 17 acres. Yeah, just like right next to Durham Forest, outside of a village called Rowlandsgill. And yeah, what I really love about the space is, one of the things that I love is, on this side of the land, there's a council estate, and then you have the land, and then you have Durham Forest, like right there, which is thousands of acres of beautiful sacred forest. And so this land, we are the bridge between these two worlds. It is insane. And it's so symbolic of what we're here to do, like bridging that gap, you know?
Wow. So you got nature on your doorstep, so you can just escape into the woods, or like do things in the woods, or like a forest. So you've got and just Mother Nature there. And I'm sure that's going to be a massive bonus for you to do things in, you know, and connect to nature that way.
Yeah, man, 100%. And the actual land has a few different trees and a bit of woodland on it. It's mainly just like rolling hill kind of vibe.
So is your vision for, say, the Guardians, some of those people to actually live on the land? Like what I know that At the moment, you've got a smart house, so you've got you're going to be living in a pre-built smart house, which is off grid, which you're not relying on the system, no mortgage, no electricity bills, just completely kind of like free and sovereign on the land. And that sounds awesome. So I'd love to hear more about that. But yeah, so we could talk about that. But also, like, are you planning for people to live on the land? Are some of the guardians moving there, or is it just going to be kind of more remotely supporting you remotely? But let's hear about this smart house first, because that sounds cool.
Yeah, the tiny house. Yeah, it's amazing, man. You just get a few big solar panels on the roof. It's literally the size of a caravan, but it does have 2 floors. So we'll have like a bedroom and then another little loft space. But you've got everything you need, you know. And it's a company called Tiny House and Company that we're getting it built. They're building it for us. You've got everything you need. You've got like a little living room area. There'll be enough space for both me and my wife to practice yoga and things. Little like seating. We'll probably have bean bags so we can move them around. You've got your kitchen, you've got a fridge, you've got washing machine, you've got a nice bathroom, the shower, and we're having a little mini bath as well in there. It's like, what more do you need, you know? And yeah, we'll be mortgage free. We'll be no electricity bills. We'll be just obviously a little bit for gas. Generally, everything will just be able to be generated from the solar panels, and we might get a little wind turbine as well at some point. Generate a bit more electricity. Completely just sustainable, you know. And
cool.
Yeah.
How does the water work and like the plumbing and all that stuff?
We do have a pipe. We have water on the land. So we if you don't know, and well, there's a few ways of doing it, you know, because sometimes they just have a big tank. Like the tiny house just comes with like a big tank that you fill up, and then it would last a week. So then you've got water for a week. So some people do it differently. We're going to actually be plugged in, so we'll have a pipe.
Nice, sweet. That sounds awesome. So yeah, like in terms of the moving forwards now. So you're still in York, is that right? You're still currently?
No, I'm in Newcastle.
Yeah, you're in Newcastle. Nice. Okay,
yeah,
cool.
2 days I've been here.
How's the Geordie accent?
It's coming on.
Why, man? You're gonna, by next time I see you, you'll be speaking a full-on Geordie accent, and I'll be like, "What?"
Yeah, probably. Yeah, man.
Why, man? So, you're have you moved? Are you in?
Yeah,
are you in your
tiny? Yeah,
Sweet.
So everything's here.
Are you in the tiny house now?
No. This is we've got an Airbnb for a month because tiny house not fully.
Okay,
not fully ready yet.
So they're building it now on the land.
Yeah, man.
Cool. So yeah, so what is the vision then? Because I know you've got retreats, you've got your men's retreats, which I really want to join you for when the timing is right. 100%. I know they're awesome. Men's retreats, you got one at the end of the month. I know Jote is doing a women's retreat at the end of Feb. So what have you got? What's the plan moving forwards? And what's like what's the vision? And also it'd be good to hear a little bit about whether or not you're planning for people to move onto the land, or if some of the guardians are coming to live there, or if you're just kind of, just doing it solo.
Yeah, at the moment, I'm not gonna say whether or not we're having people living there, because sometimes you just get too many people like wanting to come live on the land, and at the moment it's just staying very, very small in that respect. But in terms of opening for retreats and gatherings, yeah, that's 100% going down this year. We've got our grand opening on the 18th, 20th of March. So everything should be set up by then, ready to welcome people onto the land. And the men's retreats, the women's retreats, also going to be doing some divine union retreats, kind of tantric connecting retreats, things like that. Creativity things like retreats based around cultivating more creativity in our lives. And the kind of business model is to have these retreats that are these luxury retreats where we provide everything, organic vegan food, really beautiful. And we offer these workshops and we hold a real nice space and things like that for people that can afford that to come to that, but also to remain accessible to people who can't afford that. And so we'll be having community gatherings where completely donation based. We'll all bring food and share food. We'll just have fire on an evening. And we've been doing that since the start of the first Rising Dawn. So, you know, that's a big part of what we're about. And also, we're set up as a CIC now. So we're going to probably be able to get funding so we can have some subsidized places for our retreats. Yeah, and the vision, man, you know, if you go on the website, risingdawnsanctuary.com, you know, like you'll see, but we have 6 pillars, all things that have just flowed in, really felt like it's been such a divine flow of people offering different things and stuff just coming, getting downloaded from the universe of what we need to do. And we've got 6 pillars to the Rising Dawn. It's the evolution, which is all the holistic events, the retreats, like I've said. Education, so we're going to be providing alternative education for kids and teenagers, and these will be like, we've already booked in a few camps for kids and teenagers next year, so I'll be releasing details about that soon. The recovery, so this is for like, we're gonna have detoxing retreats. This is largely based on inspired by what happened with me, and having the right knowledge that got me out of my psychosis and addictions that I was struggling with. So this sector will be largely focusing on really serious mental illness and people who are really struggling with addiction, who need to come and be held in a space, even if it's just for a couple of weeks. And that'll be like, there'll be specific times in the year where we'll hold that kind of energy, that kind of space, and help people go through a detox, and just have trained therapists, you know, coming in and offering healing and spending a lot of time grounding, connected to nature. Yeah, so then the other one is animals, working with animals. Gonna have various different animals on the land, like therapy horses, you know, horses that are trained to just really like be this healing energy. We've got care. That's another thing that's really been coming up recently, is actually offering alternative to the care system for people, elderly people who are like, just, I mean, if you go in a care home, it just gets so, there's no relational contact. You know, they're just basically like almost treated like animals sometimes. I'm not saying that's totally all the time, but from what I've seen is like, sometimes it's just like, there's no real like, because people don't have time. You know, my brother was a care worker and he had to go around the houses like this, boom, 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 and he had to be at the next house, the next house. So he couldn't make any deep connection with any of the old people, even though he wanted to, and he knew that they were probably really lonely. And this Steve, my brother, is the only person that would see them probably all week sometimes, you know, unless the family's coming round. And so that, having like this service where we can sort of provide care for the elderly, that's really connected and present, and we can have more time to share, and that'll be done on like a volunteer basis, but also maybe developing some sort of system where we can get funding and things like that as well.
Cool.
Yeah, the permaculture is another of the big things that we're looking at, is returning the land back to its natural organic state, planting lots of wild flowers, planting trees, growing organic food and veg, herb garden, that kind of thing. Enhancing the biodiversity of the land. Yeah, and then there's an online aspect as well. There's going to be an online community as well. But like really using the technology for what it's, in my opinion, what it's supposed to be used for, which is like real connection through the screen, but also utilizing online connection in order to get us more into offline connection. So how can we like use the online connection so that we connect more in the real world to ourselves and other people around us? that's a big aspect of it.
So you do training and community connections online and things, so like a online community as well as obviously the in-person community, and those two, will merge at times.
Exactly. It'll be things like having most of our classes will be able to stream live. We'll have membership options, things like that.
Brilliant. Wow, man, it sounds awesome. Sounds it sounds like a big project, but I know you've got the team there supporting you, and I'm sure you're going to smash it, and it'll be phenomenal. You talked about CIC. What's that? You said you're getting funding. What does that stand for?
Community Interest Company.
All right. Cool.
So it's a fairly new concept. It's basically a branch so you've got not-for-profit organization, you've got charity, and then you've got CIC. They're all of a similar bracket. The thing with the charity is you can't earn any profit. So CIC is kind of somewhere in between a charity and a normal business, if you like
Right.
a limited company. And with a CIC, one of the things that you have to do is you have to place an asset lock on your business. So every when we look at the Rising Dawn Sanctuary at the business at the end of the year and our profits and what we've made, we will have to basically devote I think it's 75% of our profits have to go back into building more for the community.
Wow.
So it's basically like a promise that we make to the local community is we're not just going to keep all the profits and siphon them away so that we can have nice cars and nice houses. We commit to putting 75% of everything we earn back into the community to keep building and growing. Yeah, which is what we wanted to do anyway. So it worked out pretty good.
Awesome. Yeah, and if you're getting extra funding as well, it's obviously going to help you. And I imagine you're planning to build new buildings and have extra spaces, because I know you've got the yurt there, but I imagine you're planning to bring other sort of buildings onto the land.
Yeah, for sure. All in good time.
Mate, sounds great. You mentioned your official opening. What was that? March 20th. Obviously, that's the equinox. So is that something that's open to the public, or is it something you want to mention?
Yeah. The opening weekend's totally for everybody. Again, like the kids camps, I'll be sending details, putting that on the website soon, and that'll just be a bunch of different workshops. People from the community just offering different workshops, fire on an evening, and just a chance to talk about what we're doing here and the vision, and also letting people know how they can get involved, and also inspiring others maybe to kind of do the same. Because one of the big visions with what we're doing here at the Rising Dawn is if we can set up a model and a blueprint that works in order, in terms of raising conscious community, is to support and help other people to do the same. So we're going to have this fund, this pot of money that we'll be able to share around and support and fund other people who want to build their own Rising Dawn Sanctuary, essentially, if they feel aligned with our values and things like that, and just pulling in that energy so that we can all have one website where people can find their nearest sanctuary is one of the visions is, and with that it's like you get this stamp of authenticity. It's like we follow these values, and it's, I guess this is the thing about branding in any business is you develop trust within the community, and that trust spreads. And it's like we trust Waitrose to give us a good service because they've got that brand, and it's like that's what we're aiming to do with the Rising Dawn Sanctuary is constantly be creating these real authentic experiences that are deeply transformational and powerful and completely sacred and completely wild and perfect in equal measures. And then it's like yeah, I guess the reason why that is, and the reason why I say that is, so many people are going to be setting up communities at the moment. I feel it happening. I feel everyone doing it, and it's so sweet, so wonderful. It's amazing. And yet, as we do this, like with anything, any business, any project, it's really more about the people behind it and the energy behind it, because it's probably likely that some people are just going to want to capitalize on this movement, right? And build a community just purely for profit or something like that. Or maybe the energy won't be right, or there'll be, basically what I'm saying, there'll be lots of different communities to choose from. This is what I see. And we're going to have to decide on which ones we trust to give a good service and to give a real authentic service. And yeah, we just want the Rising Dawn to be one of those names that is trusted, you know.
Awesome. To like pioneer this new way of being. It's like talking to James Mallins and Lucas recently, and it's, you know, the it seems like the split in the consciousness on the planet, that, you know, there is a new way forming, and we're kind of helping to create this new way of being. And I mean, just to kind of conclude, like, how do you see things now on the planet? Obviously, post-COVID, but there seems to be such polarity, such divisions, people going in different directions. But on one level, there's this amazing opportunity for these communities to arise, to develop, to connect. And as human consciousness is rising, is expanding, how do you see, like, more globally, collectively, what's happening on the planet, and you know, the direction potentially? Obviously, you believe that we're moving more in the community-based living, otherwise you wouldn't be doing this. But can you tell us, like, a little bit about how you feel things are evolving now on the planet, and what kind of life we're moving towards?
Mm-hmm. I think that we're all going to be super blessed with like everything we need, depending on the stance that we take within ourselves, depending on how willing we are to deeply drop in to our body, drop into our pain and our grief and our rage, and allow it to move through us in order to transmute, feel it to heal it. The more we fight against these negative emotions, the more we're going to remain locked in our pain and our suffering, which is most people were in that before COVID. Most people are in that now. Most people were in that all the way through lockdown, you know, and that's because we aren't taught as children to sit with our pain. So what happens is, when we come to a grinding halt and everyone's like, they can't go to work, they can't distract themselves. I mean, we all saw it. Everyone went stir crazy. And no one could just sit but people, not no one, but a lot of people couldn't sit with themselves, really. You know, like, it's like, you know, you're in good company when you feel peaceful when you're on your own. Or they were in families, you know, and it's like there was a lot of dynamics in families. And during lockdown, there was so much going on for us in our family house. And I guess the only thing that we had different from maybe most people, I think that's fair to say, is that we had an acceptance in releasing the emotions. So there was one time over lockdown where you would have found me, and probably not just one time, probably more like 50 times, you would have found me out in the garden, screaming like a wild animal, running around on all fours. My mum and my partner will tell you, beating the ground, screaming a bit more, and then lying on my back, crying and feeling better, you know, because of it. And I think that is going to be the defining factor as to whether we actually do move into this mass awakening that people are talking about. Because we can't keep distracting ourselves. We have to turn inwards. We just have to. And yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
it's amazing opportunities for sure. And yeah, I just want to acknowledge all the work that you're doing. It's amazing and it's inspiring. I know you're helping inspiring a lot of people. You're inspiring me as well. Like one day I'd love to build a community similar to the way you describe. So I just want to thank you and just to again acknowledge everything that you're doing. And yeah, I look forward to personally seeing the land, the sanctuary when you're up and running. And yeah, I think what you're offering could help a lot of people. So just to send that appreciation to you, bro. And yeah, keep up the good work.
Thanks, James. Same to you, man. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Cheers, dude. And just to finish, if people want to get involved or get in touch, what's the best way to do that?
Yeah, I'm called the Creativity Wizard on Instagram. Follow me, or follow the Rising Dawn Sanctuary Instagram, Facebook. Probably the best way.
Cool. Rising Dawn. And what's the website? Is
risingdawnsanctuary.com.
risingdawnsanctuary.com. Great. Thanks everyone for watching. I hope you're well. Hope you have a great start to 2022. Do share this video if you think it may help people. And yeah, there's more content to come. Cheers, everyone.
Peace out.